What's up, guys? It's your boy, Mahatma Gandhi, back with some more choices that matter and the sun without. And yeah, in the last video, we got kidnapped. So this is where we left off. So let's just get right into it. I woke to a pounding in my head and an inability to move my limbs. Oh, great, great, perfect already. A scratchy surface pressed against my face and I twisted, spitting fluff from my dry mouth. I moaned, trying to remember what had happened for me to end up here. A scratchy surface? Huh? Our friend's awake. Should I stick in another dose? Oh, a male voice sounded from somewhere in front of me. Oh no. Uh-oh. Well, luckily there's no death in my future, so I'm good at that. I flipped onto my back and saw a blurred face staring down at me from the front seat. Okay, we're in a car. The sedan, the sound of the silencer, the pain between my shoulder blades, overtaken now by the pain in my head. I had been kidnapped. I opened my mouth to demand an explanation, and the same blurred face shoved a gag between my teeth, leaning closer to tie it behind my head. Good God, what's gonna happen to me? Oh God, don't. No, please. What do you want? Money? Drugs? Sex? It's sex, isn't it? A pin fell from his pocket onto the floor of the car. I pressed space bar. I pressed space bar. No, leave it. Let's not kill more brain cells than we need to. Besides, it's not like we'll be recognized. We're nearly there anyway. The second voice was female and stern. The man returned to the front seat on her word. Okay. Frantically, I looked around, trying to blink my vision clear. There was nothing in the back seat that could help me, and the windows were tinted, so even if I could sit up, no one would see me calling for help. Modi was sitting silently on the center console between the two kidnappers, out of my reach. Oh no. This must be an older model car, or at least an inexpensive one. The windows weren't electric, but instead had a crank on the door. If I could get to it, maybe I could signal for help. There was a pin on the floor too. If I could reach it, it might tell me something about my kidnappers. I could just catch a glimpse of a logo on the down-facing side. Now let's try the window. Okay, I got 3 free ones, okay. Next, when the ads start appearing, I'm probably just gonna watch a bunch of ads just to get some tickets up. Okay, let's try the window crank. I wiggled as best as I could, trying to use the door behind me as a prop to get myself closer to the crank. The beefcake in the passenger seat. Beefcake. Okay, the beefcake in the passenger seat glanced at me. I could see now that he had a scar on his left cheek. The doors are locked, friend. Don't think you're going to run away. He smirked before turning back to the road. My stomach twisted with dread, but I kept working, trying to get my tied wrist into a position such that I could maneuver my hands into a rotation. The plastic ties cut into my skin and sweat beaded on my forehead. I caught the handle with my pinky and shoved it a little, opening the window just a crack. He turned back to me angry. A small amount was not enough. I had to wind the window down more. I made another attempt, stretching out my fingers. The beefcake in the passenger seat glanced at me. I could see now that he... What? It already told me that he had a scar on his left cheek. My mind raced as I tried to think of a new plan, revise the old plan, or simply come to grips with the situation. On the console in front of me, Modi powered on. Beefcake looked down in shock. What the? Good evening, teacher. How can I assist you today? Call the police, bro. I ground my teeth against the fabric in my mouth, trying to break it and get my message to Modi. The woman in the driver's seat calmly picked up Modi and switched it off again. Be so kind as to give our friend another shot, she sighed, annoyed. Gladly, he responded, pulling out a needle and moving towards me. With nowhere to go, I was helpless as he stabbed the needle into my neck and punched in the plunger. Unconsciousness takes me again. Waking felt like being struck by lightning. I cradled my aching head, destroying brain cells indeed. I squeezed my head. I squeezed my eyes shut, too aware of each movement that made pain ricochet around my skull. I was sitting up now, and I noticed the feel of the car was different, smoother, yet louder somehow. I finally opened my eyes and stared in shock out the tiny window next to me. There was nothing on the outside but clouds and blue sky. Oh, I was on a plane. All I had to do was go to Peru. That's all I had to do. And no, I decided I was going to take my time and find out what the hell happened to Dolores and Professor Soul. And now I got kidnapped. I'm probably going to some kind of country where they still use slaves. Great. The man sitting in the seat next to me snorted, turning a page in his book. I didn't think you'd ever wake up. If you weren't snoring, I would have thought you were dead. You were fast asleep when I boarded the plane. Still, there are better ways to waste the hours before we land in Peru. Okay. Hold on. Okay, so I'm still going to Peru, but I don't know. Peru. I was flying to Peru. Okay. Clearing my throat, I sat up, glancing around to see if my two kidnappers were in the seats around me. Or maybe this man was my new caretaker. Exactly. I think he bought you. I've been bought. As casually as I could, I leaned forward and examined the contents of the rucksack at my feet. The rucksack was mine, but I didn't remember taking it from my apartment. Oh. Okay, so they know who you are. Modi was back on my wrist. I plugged in my headphones and powered Modi on as I extracted a set of travel documents from another section of my bag. The tickets were clear with my name and all my details in the correct place. I was en route to Cusco, Peru, with a connecting flight from Lima. Good morning, teacher. How can I assist you today? I gave the man next to me a shifty look, unsure if I could trust anyone in this situation. However, he was older by decades compared to the two that had kidnapped me. He also was in casual clothes and had a travel pillow around his neck. Well, he's lazy, okay? So he needs a slave to do his work. That's why I was purchased. Were you able to alert the police of my kidnapping? Come on, I want to know that. Sadly not, teacher, you mother... I attempted to alert the authorities, but they turned off my satellite systems. Damn. I did not like that. I could disable airplane mode and inform them now if you wish. Better not, Modi. We'll deal with it later. I looked around again for the kidnapper with the scar on his cheek or the other one who had driven the car. Neither of them seemed to be anywhere near me on the plane. The older gentleman looked at me with annoyance as I twisted in my seat. If you don't... Nosy! You best make yourself comfortable. We've got several hours left in our flight, not to mention the connection to Cusco. I assume you're heading to the Inti Raymi Fest? Raymi? I'm gonna say Rami. Festival as well. Most of us are. He indicated the two women across the aisle, one obviously a tourist wearing a poncho with a sun motif on it. But what's the other one look like? Curiosity stirred in the back of my mind. Did this have something to do with my work involving the incident? I smiled at the gentleman and sat back in my seat. My aching head tried to process the recent events. The police hadn't said that anyone had been injured at Dolores' house. Maybe she had been kidnapped as well. Oh, one thing was for sure, the only way to get to the bottom of this was to get to Cusco, taking that connecting flight. Somebody wanted me in Peru, and I needed to find out why. 3 hours later, we landed in Lima, and I rushed to get off the plane. Yeah, you better get out of there. Just because I had decided to go along with my kidnapper's agenda, it didn't mean I wanted to continue the joyride of tranquilizers. Moti, access the news feed and see if there is an update on the events back home. Of course, teacher. One moment, please. Dial-up sound. I have found recent articles on Miss Montague's break-in and the professor's murder. Would you like me to summarize them? Yeah, summarize them, please. Okay, now here is where I'm just gonna watch a bunch of ads, so, yeah. Okay, guys, I'm back. Now, I watched a bunch of ads. I got 9 tickets, so I'll play for a certain amount. So, yeah. Let us resume. Summarize them, please. Yes, teacher. The police have released Professor Soul's name to the public and have confirmed that it was a homicide. Miss Montague's case has been labeled as domestic disturbance and her whereabouts are still unknown. Oh, no, you took Dolores. You took her from me. I don't know who you are. No, I'm not gonna. They have not, as of yet, connected the 2 cases, teacher. They probably aren't connected. But, we can't wave that off. An announcement was made that my next flight was ready for boarding. I made my way to the gate. The 3 elderly passengers from the previous flight were already there, as well as many of the faces I had seen on the plane. This Inti Raymi festival seems quite popular, though. I wondered if the motif of the sun was to blame, considering the incident. I boarded with everyone else and settled into my seat, cautious, but beginning to relax. The 50-minute flight from Lima to Cusco was uneventful, thankfully. Dang, only 50 minutes? That's not bad. I made my way up the concourse and through the throng of passengers, I almost said thong, waited by the luggage carousel. A quick stamp on my passport and no questions asked was a perfect way to start an extremely impromptu visit to South America. I hadn't seen either of the kidnappers from the sedan, and it appeared no one was following me. I breathed a sigh of relief, hoping that their goal was to get me here and let my curiosity do the rest. Which I had to admit, it would. Now I needed to work out how to reach the center of this supposedly beautiful city. Supposedly beautiful? Damn, that's messed up. You're just gonna say it's supposedly beautiful. You're just not gonna say beautiful. Alright. I needed to get to a hotel to help me figure out why I was brought here in the first place. I think hiring a car would cost a lot more. But I think that would go out of company expenses, so let's hire a car, bro. The fight to the hire car line nearly cost me my rucksack, but I made it there relatively unscathed. Unfortunately, as I reached the front of the line, I realized that most people were walking away disappointed, some of them complaining to each other in the local language. Wouldn't that be Spanish? I didn't know Spanish, but I understood what they were saying even before Modi translated it for me. There are no more cars for hire, teacher. They've all been booked. Alright, let's go for the taxi then. Okay then. Disgruntled and frustrated, I turned back to the street. I slid into the back of the nearest taxi and stared at the driver stupidly when she asked where I wanted to go. I had no idea, since I didn't have enough knowledge of Cusco to know the answer to that. It would be unwise to head to the booked hotel in your itinerary, teacher. We know that information is compromised. Oh, you right. You right. Modi, you right. I would have gone straight to the hotel if you didn't tell me that. You got one of those gadgets, huh? Said the taxi driver. My daughter wants one of them, but they're hard to come by here. She was twisted around in the front seat, looking at me with a warm smile. Her accent pronounced her to be as foreign to this country as I was, but she seemed at ease with her surroundings. I gave her a tired smile and nodded, grateful that she knew English. That's good. My company paid for mine, I told her. Mooney was useful for making sure I don't miss meetings. She laughed and nodded. Don't stop talking about it. What brings you to the city of the sun, mate? Okay. British, Australian, who else says mate? Canadian, I think. One of those. One of those. She asked, relaxed. No, do not, no. Just decided I need a holiday. Seems like a lot of people had the same idea. She nodded as if this was a common tale these days. I rubbed my neck, dreaming of a bed and a proper rest. These last couple of days I've picked up lots of travelers that came here to see the Inti Raymi festival. The hotels are filled to the brim because of it. If you haven't booked anything, I'm sorry to say that you're out of luck, mate. Dang! Am I gonna have to go to the hotel? The news shouldn't have surprised me considering the volume of passengers at the airport, but after the long day I'd had, it did. I leaned back into my seat, trying to think of an alternative. The driver chewed her lips, seeming to bottle with an idea of her own and with an idea in her own head. Good God. I can't read right now. Okay. Finally, she nodded and put the car into park, turning again to look at me in the eyes as we spoke. Ooh. Look, I've got a spare bedroom. You're welcome to use it for a small boarding fee until the festival has passed. What were you going to pay at the hotel? I'll match it. Ooh. Alright. Not gonna say what I was gonna say, but hey, you know damn well I'm about to take that. It seemed a little strange staying at a stranger's house, but given the situation, I had little choice. I agreed. She smiled and offered her hand in a firm shake. The name's Sharon. Welcome to Peru. Okay, Sharon. Better know your way. Is this wise, teacher? We know very little of Miss Sharon or Cusco. Yeah, I know. We keep our wits about us, Modi, and be careful. We sometimes have to trust the goodness of people, Modi. We sometimes have to trust people, okay? We just have to, sometimes. Sharon's house wasn't too far away, but the long hours of stress were catching up to me. My eyelids were too heavy to take in much of the city during the ride. Once we arrived, she showed me to her spare bedroom and the simple, clean bathroom before leaving me to my own devices. I sorely wanted a shower, but I settled for washing my face before falling onto the single bed and dreaming dark dreams. The sun was still high when I woke up. I took the much-needed shower and wandered into the kitchen where Sharon was sitting, chewing some leaves from a bag. Oh, she got some of that good kush. The nice thing about having a sudden boarder is I don't have to be in that bloody hot taxi all day, she told me, grinning. Okay, she's definitely one of the three that I named. Or somewhere in the way North America. Smiling back at her, I sank into a seat at the table, feeling lightheaded. Are you okay, teacher? No, I just got kidnapped. Sharon gave me a knowing look. You look like a tourist. Here, chew this. It's cocoa leaves. Oh, illegal where I come from, but it'll give you the right kind of sea legs for this altitude. Where are cocoa leaves illegal? I don't know. I took some of the leaves and studied them, curious before popping them into my mouth. She done drugged you. What are these leaves? Illegal? So what's your deal, Sharon? That sounds a little rude. So what's the deal, Sharon? That sounds rude. So I'm just gonna say, what are these leaves? Illegal. They're just something to take the edge off. Harmless. Most travel blogs actually recommend eating them. What was it I once read? Ah, chew like the Incas. Ooh, the Incas. Ooh, the taste was bitter, but she was right. I was already feeling a little less lightheaded. I made a mental note to buy my own bag at the soonest convenience. Ugh, most places will sell the tea too. Dang, they make teas. Wow. She told me, indicating the tea caddy sitting on her bench. If you're interested in Inti Rama, there'll be plenty of places you'll find that can help you out. Modi vibrated on my wrist. Oh God, Modi, what do you want? What do you want? It's gotta be bad. It seems that she's correct about cocoa leaves, teacher. Just to be, just be sure not to take them back with you. The tea is legal, however. Oh, okay, so I can have the tea. Okay. Uh, uh, it's giving me this, so it. I think that the so what's your deal, Sharon, is gonna be like what I have to choose. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I'm just a cappy, moved out here from my home near Melbourne in Australia. Okay, she's Australian. Just over 2 years ago, before the Inti Rama festival. It was only meant to be for a short-term thing to soak up some culture, but what are you gonna do? She seemed very casual as she said all this, as if she wasn't sitting in her kitchen talking to a complete stranger. I wondered if it was because of her occupation or just her personality. You said that you had a daughter, I asked curiously. She nodded. She married a young Peruvian while she was on a trip here, the reason I came over in the first place. She convinced me to stay and got me my taxi. Not that it's hard around here. Any jackaroo with 4 wheels could put up a plastic sign. What's a jackaroo? I take it you aren't a jackaroo with 4 wheels, I asked. I'm a jackaroo with 4 wheels and a taxi registration. That's better. Is a jackaroo just a person? I don't know Australian slang. Teacher, what's a jackaroo? This isn't in my vocabulary. I looked back at Sharon questioningly, showing her Modi's face. Oh no. She laughed, not explaining. You need to explain what a jackaroo is, alright? Am I a jackaroo? Perhaps it was more her personality than her occupation that made her act in such a way. There seems to be a lot of people around this time of year. Okay, I'm just gonna ask, what is Inti Raymi? Sharon stood and walked over to a tiny bookshelf in the corner of the kitchen, grabbing what looked like a children's book and bringing it back. Inti Raymi was apparently the biggest festival in the Incan calendar. Something about their rulers being related to the sun gods or that kind of thing. I flipped through the pages of what was indeed a children's picture book. Does she think I'm stupid? It was in Spanish. Okay, yes, she does think I'm stupid. So I couldn't read it, but as with most kids' books, the pictures told most of the story. Somehow it lasted many hundreds of years, she continued, even after the Incans were no more. I stopped at a particular page depicting the Incan ruler trying to convince the sun to return to them. This would have taken place during the winter solstice, where the sun would seem more distant in the sky. That makes sense. If this is what they did when they thought the sun was wandering away, what did they do when there was an eclipse? I asked Sharon, looking up to her. She shrugged. I'm the wrong person to ask. I just know the modern story. There's an old historian across the way who knows more about these things, but talking to him is a bit hard. He only knows Quechua, the native language, and rough Spanish. I flicked through a few more pages before settling once again on the same page that had caught my eye earlier. It was an impossible coincidence that I was here just before the Incan Festival of the Sun. That had to be why I was sent here. That makes sense, because the sun did go out, so. Good lord. But for what purpose? Surely it was all superstition and myths. Sharon sat across from me, smiling pleasantly. My flight or fight instinct was still in effect, and I was cautious about letting her know too much. On the other hand, I did need some kind of translator to meet this historian, and she was obviously comfortable with the culture and the area. I'd like to meet the historian and... it's gonna be hard to get a translator. But I believe that in Peru, that in school they are forced to learn English, so I must say, would you care to come with me as a translator? I'm going to read what she says, and then this is going to be the end of the video, and we'll pick up later. So, yep. She rubbed her hands together, collecting her bag of cocoa leaves and standing. Okay, it seems like she's agreeing with me. Let me just see. Alright, grab what you need. I'll be out front warming up the car. She's a bit old these days, and with that, she left the room. Alright. Well, seems as if we're going to go see a historian to learn more about Inti Rama. Or Rami. And, yeah, we're going with Sharon, the taxi driver. So, that's gonna be the end of this video. See you guys in the next video. Bye.